how do we now work with the industry to change the way in which we're portrayed on TV and film?
It's all about representation, not just in front of the screen, but behind the camera, across production. But we feel quite alone. And that's why when we've had our networking events, we've brought creatives together.
Is there any work that you're doing at the moment to make sure that we're kind of creating our own people that are writing our own stories, that are creating films that involve,
Absolutely.
a superhero that might be Muslim or a lead actor that might just happen to be Muslim without the beads and without the prayer mat and without the Allahu Akbars, etc.
Anything is easy to understand if you want to understand it. I mean, I never knew how to run a charity. I figured it out. Belts and braces, just got on with it, figured it out, make mistakes, just keep moving on. If there's something you're interested in and something you truly feel is important, you'll go figure it out.
And it's sad that we feel that maybe as individuals we're not enough. But we as individuals, we're quite powerful. So anyone who's watching this can be one of the heroes of the community. We're all heroes in our different ways.
Sajid Varda, actor, producer, and story consultant. Sajid starred in an executive-produced, award-winning comedy film, The Chop, that won over 54 international awards. He has also produced the US comedy film, The Tiger Hunter, directed by Lena Khan. Today, Sajid is the founder and CEO of UK Muslim Film, an organisation that looks at inclusivity and authentic storytelling on stage and on screen. Let's meet Sajid with all due respect. So, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome.
Assalam.
Thank you for joining us, Sajid. You're no kind of stranger to the London scene, and we're here in London. We've had to travel from Bradford to get here. It's an international podcast, as I said.
Welcome
I'll put
to
my
London.
cards down on the table, literally. So welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. And I think I wanted to get straight into, I guess, for me, what is a really, really sort of important question. Something that, to be honest, I've been struggling with myself for the last couple of months, and I thought this is where we should start the show, just to set the scene and make sure that people understand exactly kind of like where the important parts are.
My Buta regime.
That we will definitely get to, but Superman. Was it about Gaza, or did you have anything to do with it?
Superman.
So many people are saying, well, Superman was based on Israel and Gaza, and it was a whole Palestine thing, and I was like,
That's a
but that would have taken years for them to be able to put into script. And then I had a Simpsons moment saying, when you see Simpsons or you see those clips, and it was like Simpsons predicted it, and I was like, oh well.
Well, there are a ton of stories out there around whether it is linked to Palestine or not. The conflict that we're seeing. Who knows? We don't really know whether it is. Would the director even admit to it? All we can see is that we watch the film, which is a pretty decent.
I feel like you've been paid to say
movie.
that. It's one of those responses like, who knows?
Yeah, we just don't know. I mean, unless the director James Gunn comes out and says yes, it is, then we know for sure. All we can do, and this is what we do all the time. We watch shows and we interpret our own meaning from it, right? And so a lot of people have, and if that's what they're getting from it and that's how they feel about it, alhamdulillah, it's fantastic. Again, I'm just not the maker of the film.
I thought I was going to get some answers to this kind of question that I was bringing.
I'm sorry to disappoint you.
No problem. I'm sure it's not going to be the first time. Moving on swiftly and getting the more important questions out of the way. UK Muslim Film. You're wearing the T-shirt.
I am indeed.
You are obviously the founder and CEO. Tell us more about, and tell everybody else about what UK Muslim Film is all about.
So the UK Muslim Film really came about as a response to what we see now, which is the medium of film and TV and stage. We see a ton of stories, and the frustration that when you're watching a show, they're depicting Muslims, and it's never in a positive light, or showing us in any like a humanistic manner. They're always very tropey storylines, and those storylines are four. Right, one is Muslims are terrorists. Muslim men are misogynists, Muslim women are oppressed, and Islam is a threat to the West, right? That's it. And variations thereof. And it's annoying and it's upsetting. And many people will look at those shows and say, but actually, you know what? If this is what they're thinking of us, how will we ever feel that we have a place in this society, even though we're, many of us are born and bred here and contribute a phenomenal amount to this country in different ways. So that so UKMF was really born out of that. And it's just an interesting story how it came about. It came about actually through because my background is film and TV, and I've been in film and TV since the late 80s, early 90s. Oh, I'd say the late 1900s.
Makes me sound like a character.
Sounds
Charles
older.
Dickens, doesn't
Bring
it?
it, yeah.
Yes.
So for me, is I was always when I had my roles on TV and film, they were always very much around just having a multicultural cast. There wasn't really any reason behind. It wasn't like, right, we need you because you're Muslim and we will need to depict something about faith. It was just showing a very diverse cast, and that was great.
You were the token brown guy.
And not necessarily. I was a token brown guy amongst token black actors as well. But it was great how the very first show I did was a comedy series for Channel 4. So I was one of the supporting lead cast. And that was called Teenage Heartbreak. And that was completely mixed. And the guy who played the headmaster was Tony Robinson, who is Baldrick from Blackadder. And that was phenomenal. That was my first job. I loved it. And for me, that's where that bug came. And there's obviously a lot more roles came after that. I'm sure we'll talk about that after. However, what I found then from 9/11 onwards, and then from that tragic day, is that the industry had a way of making money, putting bums on seats. And that's right. Let's now talk about Muslims being the new red threat, as Russia's been, or China.
Yeah.
And so so a lot of the narratives are very stereotyped, very anti-Muslim, very anti-community. And that has led to a lot of negative views or feelings around our community. And we can see it now. So there's a lot of othering that's happened. All that is reinforced by a lot of the stories that I see in film and TV. So back in 2014, so I'd been out of acting for some time because I left because I was looking for my dad. I became his full-time carer. I remember just getting a random email via Spotlight. So Spotlight is this great, this online database of talent. And that's where the industry can find you. And I was still on it. I've been on it since, for like 30 odd years or so. And someone contacted me and said, I've got this short film, would you mind auditioning? And I thought, great, I'll give it a go. It's been a while. And it was a short film, which is really it's a comedy about Jews and Muslims. And it was called The Chop. And the story is that there is a Jewish butcher who's really good, and he's a bit too flash. He does something, it's not his fault. He's then kicked out of his job, is fired.
Was that work?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's now desperately trying to find another job.
Yeah.
And just as about to give up, he sees this ad for a halal butcher. So he pretends to be Muslim so that he can work at this halal butcher's. Now I'm running this halal butcher with my two idiot sons, right? And it goes from there because he then gets found out. But then the sons don't tell him that they know. And that's where the comedy and then starts. It is brilliant, really good, short, 40 minutes. So I came on board and I got the role, and then I came on board as exec producer. We then had a premiere at the Jewish Film Festival because it's part funded by there. And this is, so I think is at the Odeon in Swiss Cottage. This is why I'm talking about it, because this really was something which inspired UK Muslim film. So I'm at this premiere with my family, obviously Muslim, and just a sea of Jewish people. Fine, we got no issue because I'm born and raised, we mix of all communities. But it wasn't the same from their side. You could see though it was there's a bit of coldness there, and we could feel it. Not as far. And then we go in for the screening. People are watching this film and they're like in hysterics. It's like after 14 minutes and there's like a howl of laughter and a clap. Then I go up and do a Q&A. And I go up there and thinking, what, I'm just going to do something a bit different. And I'm taking a risk. So I go up and amongst my cast, they introduce me, and then I put on the thickest Arab accent I can. And then I say something which I'm not sure if I can say it on this podcast, but
Well, you go ahead and say we can beat things out.
yeah, I mean, but basically, I basically said that I was working in the Essex wing of a prescribed, which is now a prescribed, and I was found by the director, who then said you'd be ideal for this role. And then I coughed and went into a really English accent, and the audience just went nuts. They just started pretty relief.
Yeah.
But they were nuts. They were clapping. They were laughing. They were like crying. And something happened in that room where after we'd finished the Q&A, we went into the foyer. And the atmosphere just changed. Everyone was coming up, wanting to talk, wanting to shake our hands. A guy called Israel came and hugged me. I mean, I've never been many loved by Israel.
They don't even want that bit hooked by it.
I know. It was really, it was amazing how there was this this almost not divide, but it was just this coldness that had been there. And that just changed completely. And people just wanted to come up and they just wanted to talk and they wanted to tell their stories and their thoughts on the show. And for me, it was how 14 minutes changed the entire atmosphere of a screening. It was amazing. So for me, it was, look, we've got so many wonderful stories in our community. We had 2 billion strong as a community. That's about, 25% of the global population. Surely if our stories were out there where the mainstream could see them and get to know us and understand us, and that othering may not be there. So UK Muslim film was really born out of that, which was, how do we now work with the industry to change the way in which we're portrayed on TV and film? How do we help them? Whether developing ideas or the scripting ideas or whether we're in production. How do we work with mainstream audience? How do we bring them in for screenings to show them our stories? How do we support our creative community and find ways that we can bridge that gap between the industry and our creative community? So that was really the idea behind it.
Have you got some active examples of where you've been able to do that, where you've been able to, like, okay, this is a story that's going to be told in a certain way, and with the intervention of UK film, we've actually been able to change the course of film or the narrative or the characters, or anywhere you've really helped to do that? Like, have you had some success in?
Alhamdulillah. I mean, we've been brought on quite a few shows. I'd say that we've worked from some really fun ones. Screw was one, which is about about prison officers. It's kind of like a dark comedy always, written by a phenomenal.
Anything else you might have heard of, Sajid?
Yeah, it's on Channel 4. It's on Channel 4 here, called Screw, and that was STV and Screw. The writer is Rob Williams, who did The Man in the High Tower.
You're going to have to tell us about this,
Amazon.
people. I warned you about this before. I said, before you get in here, you're going to be talking about Blackadder, and the most Canadians and Americans are going to be listening to this
like,
thinking, what the hell is
What's
that?
happening? What's going on?
So Rob Williams is a great writer, and they came to us and said that we've got this script. Would you mind going over it and giving us kind of a sanity check? Because one of their characters is Muslim. So we just went through the script, and what I did is kind of made notes on the dialogue and the storyline. I just picked up a few things, and what was interesting is that Rob is great in that he's really open to suggestions and advice and making sure that he's doing things in a way that's respectful, but at the same time is entertaining for audiences. So
that example is there, Saj, but I think
the example in that one is that the story is about a prisoner who is a revert.
Okay.
Right? And it's a prisoner who's a revert, and he then picks up a knife to stab other inmates, and you think, oh, here we go again. But what was different now is that it was flipped on its head, because the character that is supposed to be a revert, he actually is a right-wing guy in the prison who's been pushed by kind of the right-wing racist elements to infiltrate the Friday prayer and then stab lots of Muslims.
Oh.
So that
It's a big change in the story.
It was a huge. It was turned on its head.
Wow.
and that led to probably the highest viewing figures for that episode because it was like, here we go, Muslims again. It's like, oh, you weren't expecting that. And that is what I loved about working in script.
I mean, it almost feels like there's a suggestion that some of this is happening because there's just from this case, we don't know any better, but let's just put the Muslim there and then he can do and go away and stop these other guys. And, I didn't know that we could actually turn this on its head. I didn't know it was going to be, stereotypical or trying to go down on one sort of character or whatever. It almost feels like, not, I wouldn't say innocence, but I mean, it's not as blatant as, the Soviets are represented in the Rocky movie, for example. Like, is there a certain innocence to it, or are we just finding that, we don't know where to cast Muslims, so they always just fit into these 4 boxes that you put in?
It is laziness, right? And I think from the part of Rob is that Rob had in his mind that, look, he didn't want to portray Muslims in a bad way. So he already had that. Yeah. And it was just really us looking at the script and kind of helping him and encouraging him and say, look, what you're doing is right. It's good. Let's go down that road. Give the right-wing movement their moment, right? But what we're finding is that other times it is sheer laziness. I mean, I've sat on calls where people, it's an initial consultation. It's like, right, we've got this great idea, it's in development. And what we're doing is we want to do this show around, let's say, a hijacking, and it's by Palestinians. And what we want to do is do something different. Okay, right, Palestinians hijacking, right? Do you know what our charity does? I mean, we are trying to change the perceptions of Muslims. Yeah, we get that. But what we want to do is we want to show it from the viewpoint of passengers. So I'm saying, okay, so tell me, why do you want to do this story? It's, we're doing it because we think the viewpoint of passengers, we think that would be a really good angle. So that's great. Have you thought of a different angle? Tell us. What about doing it from the viewpoint of the hijackers? Why are they doing it? Yeah. We'll think on that. Right.
And why are the Palestinians in the first place?
Well, I think they wanted to do something because I believe an incident happened maybe around about the 80s where there were some hijackers that were of Palestinian origin and they wanted to kind of recreate that and do it from a different perspective. I said, well, I think it'd be more interesting from that perspective, right? So there are times we just won't work, but we give them ideas and say, look, we're not going to say shut down your idea, but we'll give you help, right? Maybe this will be a more powerful story. Often or not, they'll take it. Other times for them, it's like, no, we kind of want to be lazy. We just want to rehash the formula, which is show Muslims as the evil people and that put bums on seats.
You think that you've got a massive sort of fire that's burning at the moment, out of control almost, which is that people are being placed in lots of different roles and they're just being, misrepresented in all sorts of ways. And I guess the work that you're doing at the moment is maybe just bringing a little bit what's it gonna take to make sure that you can actually have like a bit more of a systemic sort of change, right, at the foundations of how some of this stuff is going.
As with everything, it takes shame. It takes a long time. And if you look at the different movements like the Black movement, it's taken a long while, decades, for them to get the kind of representation in front of camera and across production. And so, it's about almost waiting our turn. And our turn is coming. And we're seeing there are some changes being made. So even when we look at storylines around Muslims, yes, we are still brought in because we are going to kind of pad out a storyline which about maybe our community or something around maybe our practice of our faith. But very seldom do we just see a Muslim in a show just being Muslim, just being a human being. There always has to be something attached to our culture or our values or our practice. And that's why I love The Bay. The Bay is you watched it, but The Bay is a great ITV drama by a phenomenal writer called Dara, who we work with really closely. And he had a phenomenal character who was Muslim in his show. And he was just a Muslim detective. There wasn't, you did, when he was at home, you didn't see him saying, let me pull out the prayer mat. Come here, let me pray with my prayer beads. Let me do this while I chat to you. There wasn't any of that open, kind of the ritualistic.
Yeah, your typical.
Yeah, stereotypical. So it was just a really great character. And he was just really well acted as well. And they did a phenomenal job. But we don't see enough of that because we're just not represented really as human beings or as valued members of society. But also, our stories are kind of seen as risky. So when you have our writers writing these great stories, it's like, it's wonderful. We love that idea. But can you put a bit more wife beating in it? Would you mind putting a bit more, I don't know, could she take her hijab off and feel like she's liberated from the chains of your faith? Can she be freed by a white man? Or could he have a bit more, Allahu Akbar, and a bit more, that kind of thing, And our writers are like, what do I do? I either.
Are these app requests?
Yes, they are subtle, but they ask for those things because.
Maybe not in those words, but they're hinting towards it.
But it's from the lens of somebody who is not Muslim. For them, it's like, this is how I see Islam. Can you not do the story how I see you rather than how you see yourselves? Because everyone wants to see you how I see you, and I'm the man with the money or the woman with the money, and I'm the one who gives the approval. So that's frustrating for writers. Why? It's because they are so talented, but their stories which are authentic, are almost being watered down to kind of appease the powers that be and for it to go through the kind of the greenlighting process so it gets made. And it's really hard, even for actors. There are actors who will say, right, we want you to play terrorist one or so-and-so. And it's like, crying out, what do I do? Do I not do it and go hungry? Or do I do it and kind of bite my tongue, but I'm in work? It's tough.
And where does our own storytelling, like obviously this is based on other people writing the stories and for them to be coming in. Like,
is there any work that you're doing at the moment to make sure that we're kind of creating our own people that are writing our own stories, that are creating films that involve
Absolutely.
a superhero that might be Muslim or a lead actor that might just happen to be Muslim without the beads and without the prayer mat and without the Allahu Akbars, etc. Like, what work is happening in that space? And because the reason I ask is when I look at some of this space, I think, well, if we were going to invest in one area, and for me, obviously, I'm in marketing, so it makes a little bit more sense for me. If we were going to invest in any area right now, it would be in media, it would be in storytelling, it would be making sure that we have authentic storytelling. I know that you're a big advocate of, that we would be doing that in the best possible way. Because what we're able to do with that, and I guess what we've seen with kind of the likes of, for example, Gaza, etc., it has been storytelling from the ground. It has been that, and the authenticity of it has penetrated hearts and it's penetrated minds and got people to change. Well, actually, I was sitting on the fence on that. I'm actually
quite pro Palestine, or I'm pro X, Y, and Z.
Is there one area that we should really be focusing on within that whole space thing? Actually,
Yeah.
we need more writers, we need more actors, we need more. Is there one thing that you think we should really, really pin?
Well, there's a couple of really great questions there, and it's around about
They're all been coupled together, bro.
into one uber great question. It's all about about representation, not just in front of the screen, but behind the camera, across production. We make up about 2.5% of the industry. It's quite small, but we feel quite alone. And that's why when we've had our networking events, we've brought creatives together from all aspects of production, from visual effects to wardrobe, hair and makeup, producing, directing, writing, cinematography, all of that, and bringing people together. And it's been a real emotional affair for people. It's like, wow, there are other Muslims, but I feel like I'm part of the family. I don't feel I'm going to an event where I'm having to drink alcohol and trying to blend in. They feel great. So for us, it's about, right, how can we now have these emerging and seasoned creative talent and get them in front of the people that matter? So a lot of my work has always been about building relationships with the industry. And we've done some great work with the likes of the BFI, Film and TV Charity, with BAFTA and Amazon, Netflix, Warner Brothers, and various others as well, to say, look, we've got some great talent here. You need to really be paying attention to them. And so that's kind of one aspect of it. The other aspect is around different schemes that we're running. So we've been working with various organizations around skills training. So organizations that are very good at kind of more crew-based training. So it could be around set design, could be around editing, sound editing. And then we've got other programs with BBC Writers. We've done a great collaboration, which is finding the next great writers and then offering them chance to get mentorship over a period of 6 months. So that's kind of another. And then another avenue is going all the way down to kids and running a schools program where we're going in and teaching them about stereotype and what is good representation, but also giving them hands-on filmmaking training, workshop training as well. So that's kind of the work that we did. And there's kind of a big scope of what we're doing and where we're going. But a key point here is around the importance or the medium of media. Yes, you're absolutely right. It's only 2 years ago that we really properly understood the importance and the value of media as a media, film and TV. You can see how many films are coming out and TV shows where, that can change people's perceptions. That itself has a huge impact on the psyche of society. And it can either encourage or it can prevent the othering of communities. But we haven't grasped that as a community. We're very good. And again, I don't mean any disrespect to entrepreneurs here, but we're very good at chicken and chip shops, burger shops. We're very good at, doing tea shops, which it is fine. That's an ecosystem.
They call it tie shops, but
yeah, tea shops, whatever you want to call them, and that's all fine. But what we're missing is that there is a huge opportunity to, and again, this is all about dawah, right? There's a huge opportunity to put money into a medium that has the maximum impact, and that is TV and film and stage.
I think it's just because it's not as easy to understand as chicken shops and chai shops and all.
Anything is easy to understand if you want to understand it. I mean, I never knew how to run a charity. I figured it out. Belts and braces, just got on with it, figured it out, make mistakes, just keep moving on. I didn't understand produce it. I got on with it. Singing, yeah, I got on stage and did it. And then acting, same thing. If there's something you're interested in and something you truly feel is important, you'll go figure it out, as people have done with all these wonderful businesses that we're seeing. They have an intention, they figure out. The same with media is that we have so many wonderful creatives where we can really change the narrative, and we can even build our own industry where we're not reliant upon the mainstream industry to say, give us permission, give us a few crumbs. And that's how it feels to the creative community. We can do our own thing. It's not like we're lacking money or we're lacking the talent.
Are we not lacking the talent?
No, not at all. We have a huge amount of talent.
Is it still kind of, not your ideal sort of career choice as a young person to say, well, I'm going to go into film, television, writing, for example? Is it still the case now? Are we still looking at...
I would say that back in the day, I mean, even growing up myself.
We might have different back of the days, but carry on.
Yeah, my back of the day was my parents encouraged the creative arts, but they were very different. But also they said, make sure you are a professional. So I ended up doing a degree in accounting and finance because I needed a fallback.
Of course you did.
And they were very wise, and I listened to them, alhamdulillah. But yeah, back in the day, I mean, journalism, maybe, perhaps.
I think journalism to a certain degree is still accepted as...
and back then, because some great presenters and people who, rose through the ranks and became commissioning editors and did extremely well. But there were very, very few, even radio presenters. But TV and film wasn't really something that they were advocating. I was a handful of probably like 5 Asians and maybe about 2 Muslims, maybe, that were around at the time in the industry. So there's very, very few of us. It's more prevalent now, but the opportunities are limited because if we don't have enough of our stories, then there isn't really going to be much of a call for our talent to crew them or star in them. So it's literally an industry where our talent are almost begging for, it feels like they're begging for a handout to work on shows, especially in front of camera talent. So there is a huge step. We have a ton of money in our communities, both here and abroad. You know, we can see in certain countries like Turkey and Iran, the film industry is something which is quite burgeoning and is very successful. But I feel that the community here in this country isn't quite behind the creative community here. I feel that we're missing a trick, and it's not anything other than the community just doesn't understand it enough yet. And the power of it.
What are you doing, Sajid, to make sure that the community can understand? Yeah, I've always feel like that's the burden that sort of
That's how it feels. But again, for us, we're a charity. So we need resources. We need people. We need people. You can only run an organization so far on volunteers. At some point, you need to bring people on who are very experienced and talented in what they do, but that comes at a cost. But then the community has to understand that there is a cost. So they will understand water well projects. They'll understand building mosque. They'll understand we don't awful, and that's fine. Hamdan, there's huge reward in that. But also charity can be in the form of dawah through media, through the work that we do and other organizations that are working in the industry. Our creative community need help. They need support and they need backing. And there's only so much as a charity we can do. The rest has to come from the community saying, right, you know what? Here's £10 a month, and let's get as many writers on these creative writing programs as we can. Here's, £30 a month. We can put that towards buying filmmaking kits, equipment, so people can go out there and start making their short films and getting, their projects out there. So you can see that there are different, schools program. Here's donation of £5,000 from, somebody who owns a tea shop, right? 10 grand. Say, look.
So you do need the tea shops, bro.
We do. The Smash Burger, but all these say, hey, look, here's a little wad of money. Go run that schools program and show kids what is good representation. Help them at a young age. Give them the skill set so they understand that, this is bad representation.
I feel like we're going to move our representation away from, the guy who's calling Allahu Akbar and he's hijacking the plane to all those things, the wife beater, to fried chicken shops and smash. But
this is so sad how, when you say Allahu Akbar, for us, it's this deep moment of spiritual connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We say this in our salat. Right? There's a times where we're so taken by or in awe of Allah, we say Allahu Akbar. But it's been now assigned or associated with some sort of terrorist crime. And that for me is unacceptable. And that's why the work we do is around, right, we have to change that. It'll take time, but inshallah we'll get there.
Inshallah. Let's move away from UKMF.
Let's move away. Where are we going?
You have we have the Muslim Impact Forum, which is MIF. And I believe you have your own MIF. Tell us about your MIF.
With an extra app.
With an extra app. So.
I'd not say yours is at fun, but ours is really fun.
We're not fun, look at you.
So the Muslim International Film Festival, that's just something I just wanted to do for a very, very long time. And for me, it was because I had been very active with BFI and the London Film Festival as a patron for quite some time. And I love going to film festivals and seeing some wonderful films. And I saw some great films back in the mid-2000s. And then I thought to myself, you know what? I saw this wonderful film. Where is it now? And realizing it's just nowhere to be found. And thinking to myself, I would really love our community and even the mainstream community to actually watch it. But trying to get hold of these movies, I just don't know where to get hold of them. Now I'm thinking to myself, look at the London Film Festival, which is the one I absolutely love it. It's just finished recently. And just seeing how they had hundreds of films. And they had the filmmakers and they had the cast and the crew and they had the Q&As and just saying how they celebrate filmmakers and this wonderful media, which is film. I'm thinking to myself, but why are we not celebrating Muslim created talent and our contribution to film? I'm thinking, does this exist? No, it doesn't. Especially in the UK, there wasn't anything that I could see that did that. I could see there were festivals abroad in Canada and in other countries where they were doing something which was kind of a small scale. But for me, it was right. I want to do an international festival, create a platform. We can bring all this creative talent to the heart of London. I thought to myself, Leicester Square. That's what they do, all the big premieres. That's why I'd been to premieres, red carpet. Do it there. Let's celebrate you folks. And that's where it came. That's where it all came about.
So give us some numbers. Last year was your first year.
It was, 2024. So that was our inaugural festival, inaugural MIF with the extra F. And we had close to about 2,000 people come over 3.5 days.
Brilliant.
It was shocking. I believe we had 8 features, and we had up to about 12 shorts, 2 shorts programs. We had panel discussions. So we had great support from Film 4, Channel 4, CAA, who are like radio talent agents. We had Film London. We had people from BAFTA come down and speak on the panel. We had a BFI. We had film and TV charity. Everybody came down and said, "We're behind you." I'm like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." And that was, dua. And alhamdulillah, they all came. And then they said, "Yeah, when are you doing it again?" "Well, you up for it?" "Yeah." I said, "Okay." But what was really amazing is that the opening nights, we had this red carpet gala, and we had all the media there. We had a red carpet, we had live broadcasters. Sky was there, BBC was there, Sajad Mahmood was doing Nakallah, kind of a live thing. It was just incredible. And what we found was Muslims who were coming out, and it wasn't just Muslims, it was people of all backgrounds, but the Muslims coming out, the creators, were just in tears. And they're coming up saying, "Thank you." Well, why? I said, "You're celebrating us, and you've just never been celebrated." And I was so upset because I'm thinking, wow, there's just no space for us. But there is now.
Brilliant. And the plan, I guess, then would be on the back of that success is to do
Doing it again.
again.
Yeah, absolutely.
When's the next one happening, I guess?
So we're looking at towards the tail end of June in 2026.
Brilliant. Excellent.
Again, Leicester Square.
Absolutely, because that is for me. It's always been the kind of the home of premieres, and for me, it's about how do we honor our great filmmakers, and those filmmakers who are not Muslim but who have made something which touches upon or is themed around our community and faith. So that's really important.
Fantastic. Sajid, the question that's maybe going to take us off on a tangent.
Sure.
I know you didn't want to speak about face.
You cheeky boy.
You see, we've got this on camera now. Do you think that maybe there's a reluctancy for parents or for individuals themselves to go into this space because they feel that they might have to compromise on certain faith values, etc., etc.? And that's the reason they're being stopped. And can you tell them anything otherwise?
It's a very challenging industry to operate in. Although, you do have the right to say no. So as an actor, if you have a great agent, they will say to you, "Look, are there any kind of hard lines on what you won't do?" I need to say, right, here's this. Are there any commercials that companies that you wouldn't work with? Yeah, X, Y, and Z. It can limit you, but at the same time, you're not forced to do anything that you don't want to. However, the industry is going through a huge downturn at the moment, and there are probably about 64% of the workforce out of work currently, because there's just not enough money around at the moment to fund productions, and that's kind of the sad nature of things. So then it's an issue of, are there projects that would call for, let's say, for example, in front of camera talent? And often or not, there aren't enough stories that would warrant somebody of my background or faith, unless it is related to something Muslim, like terrorism, that kind of story. Crew is different because crew can work on any project. However, what you find is that the industry is a little bit is quite cliquey. So crews like to work with who they know, and then sometimes it can be very challenging or difficult to get a look in. So you see that there are people who, I know who work in various crew roles. They struggle to they get jobs, but not necessarily often the ones they want. And sometimes they are waiting for that next gig. So I would say that anyone who wants to come into this industry, you have to really think carefully about whether you can really make a full-time career out of it. I would say that it's very much depending upon what area you're going into, and just making lots of dua and getting that guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say, Allah, is this a path I should be taking? You've got to have a backup, really, I feel, in this industry. However, I also would say this, is that the industry model is changing in terms of how kind of script to screen. So a lot more is happening through the kind of other channels like YouTube, where people can make their own content and get it out there and do really well out of it. And they can monetize it too.
Yeah, that was definitely something I was going to say, that we thought that TV was going to die a few years ago, to be honest. We thought, well, actually, social media is going to take over. Content creation is just, it lives and breathes on those platforms. Anybody can be a content creator. You can write your own scripts, you can act in your own videos, and on and off you go. It still doesn't seem to have died, and cinema to a certain extent made a comeback, right? It was like more people were going to the cinema, and we thought it was actually going to be dead. It feels like there's this kind of, stuff that you'd watch in cinema, the Supermans and the Iron Mans and all the rest of it. It's only superhero movies I know.
Those studio movies.
Yeah, and then you don't. There's the kind of the middle space seems to be not kind of stuff that you go and watch and you're not paying for it, and maybe it's too niche. And then you got all the social stuff. For anybody who's starting off now, would it not be better for us to focus our intentions on social stuff? Create your own scripts, get your own crew, go and film content, make a movie, put it out on YouTube. Seems like there would be more benefit in doing that and getting the returns from social channels for viewership, etc.
I agree with you. So you'll find that I believe that YouTube is almost there at the top when it comes to content creation, the monetization, because that's now the route to market. You've got to find another way, because people are banging on the door. The kind of the traditional broadcasters and streamers aren't necessarily interested unless you're somebody who has a big name, you've had other projects out there, and you're connected to people who you can attach on your project, which is a big name. You're going to struggle. It's going to be more challenging, right? However, then the issue comes down to what's the alternate. And you're right. You can now, on your phone, whether it's an iPhone or Samsung, they're really good quality. You can film, you can make a film, whether it's a short, even a feature, with a mobile now. And you can get people together. You can build networks of people come together who could work on the editing, and people to work on sound, on others to kind of work in hair and makeup and wardrobe. You can create, a little community of people that you can go and make films with. I'm not saying it's easy, but there are the tools now. It's widely available, really accessible for you to go out there and make something. And it could be that you put it out on one of these social channels, whether you put it out as a full film or whether you put it out as these kind of short little, these kind of shorts and put out, which gain popularity. And there you go. You've got yourself, you've got some credibility. You've got yourself some, revenue coming in. And then you've actually got the industry now looking and saying, well, actually, this person's a really good director, or, I really love the writing on this. I want to see more of it. And that's just generally now what we're seeing is happening more of. So you've got to switch it up and change and just be a little bit more, what's the word?
Agile.
Yeah, just be able to agile and kind of think out the box, as I said.
Yeah, it's just when we look at this space, it's remarkable because obviously, in one hand, we want more people in the space. We want more writers. We want more of ours. We want more of our own actors. We want people to be playing real roles. On the other side, you're saying, 60% of the industry sat out without a job.
There are people I know who are exec producers on big shows who have left the industry, and they're out doing something very, very different. So there's a lot of that happening as well. So if you think about the pecking order, we're kind of low down. So if the exec producers who've been in Israel over 25 years running some of the biggest continuing dramas are now leaving the industry, where does that leave us? So again, don't forget, success is from Allah. It's not from anyone telling you can't do something. It's about you having the intention, skilling yourself up, putting the effort in and making it up. And then whatever comes from that, I'm in that. But you can't be naive in this industry and think, we'll have them. Because there are people still waiting to get that first script produced.
I mean, the one example that comes
To mind, it might be a weird one or maybe not even relevant, but I remember watching Guz when he first did his Pachysaurus video.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is quite fun. And I remember actually watching it like a few days after he posted it, or a week or whatever. And it's remarkable, like seeing his journey just go from, not really interested into some of this stuff, and then just like saw him on a movie at the cinema. It was a bit surreal, thinking, well,
Yeah.
I remember this guy making videos about eating crisps and Jurassic Park and all this sort of stuff. Made his way into kind of stand-up-ish kind of stuff. Has done all the kind of live at the Apollo and Fox and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then was on mainstream telly, man like Mobeen and other movies. It just seems it's a bit weird. Like if you're actually choosing this as a career, maybe you should, like you said, do accountancy, do your law degree, do whatever you need to do. And this is a side hustle almost that you're trying to do on YouTube and social media to get eyes on your talent, I guess.
I mean, I can't. I know, guys. I can't really speak much about his story. Well, I mean, he was a teacher, so again, he's got skills, right? And with him, is he put a video out. It caught the attention of a great agent, and from there on, he was able to put together some great projects which were very, very popular. Had a great team around him, and alhamdulillah, he went on from there. It's just, I feel that the doors aren't necessarily open for many people. The industry will let few in every now and again, so, and it's just a very challenging one because sometimes and I know people who produce shows, and what you'll find is that when they're pitching an idea, say, right, who do we have to present this show? For them, it's like, right, these are the go-to people. But then when they want to suggest somebody new who they feel, would be really good, it's like, yeah, we don't even take a chance. It's risky. Like our project's always going to be risky. Yeah. But I say, right, we'll go with this individual because they're tried and tested. But the issue is that if you don't let people in, you'll never get to a point where you have other go-to people. You're just always going to have the odd individual. And after a while, I think even audiences will say, it's like, you see the same faces all the time. It gets a bit tiring. I get bored.
Yep.
I meet people. I think he should be on TV, but I know that their path is going to be littered with, I need an agent. Agents will look at you and say, I've got about 1,000 people that look like you.
always.
It's all waiting for their break.
Just want to ask a little bit more about the kind of the role that media is playing at the moment. And will probably continue to play in just shaping our narratives completely and utterly on stuff like November's coming now. It's Islamophobia Awareness Month, depending on when this goes out. Islamophobia Awareness Month, and it's the 1 month that we say, we'll cry about. Usually, my perception, we cry about Islamophobia and we should do X, and then probably go to sleep on the 31st and we're off first. I remember reading lots of stats about Mo Salah when he was like at the top of his game. It's on his way down now, but he was at the top of his game at Liverpool. Not sure if you're a Liverpool fan, but he was at the top of his game, and how Islamophobia had decreased in Liverpool as a result of them having this Egyptian king that was their kind of
Egyptian king.
Egyptian
I love
king,
it.
the goal scorer. You can probably tell where my alliances lie.
Yeah, of
but
course.
they had this, and it had a major effect, and it was just this role model that existed there. I think to a certain degree, a lot of people are still looking for those sort of role models almost. I remember when the Ertuğrul series was launched for Turkey.
Oh my goodness! You couldn't go to a restaurant without seeing some brother with one of those hats on.
Yeah, it was
thinking that they were, a bey of some form.
Of course, bro. Of course. And this
I'm
is
sure
why
you had
Sajid
that
Bey.
as well.
This is why Sajid Bey. I'm saying that I think what was missing at that point, and what people were looking and clinging on to, or what I felt anyway, was that we were looking for a hero. We were looking for this figure that we could say, okay, in a time, especially when we were down,
Something we can identify.
yeah, and we said, well, actually, this is how we can see maybe a revival. This is how we can see like our situation getting better. And this was an individual that we thought, look at this hero. This is how you talk about Islam. This is how you represent Islam, etc., etc. We don't seem to have got that in our mainstream stuff. Yes, we're represented in lots of different places, but don't we have a leading character? So the question in a roundabout way is, how far do you think we're from a Muslim Mr. Bond or a Muslim superhero or or whatever it might be?
I'm
Because
sure.
those are the only movies I'm watching.
Yeah,
I'm not watching any of this middle tier
Yeah.
stuff that you've been talking about. All these directors that you were talking about, I don't know who they are.
You
I
don't
think
know
most
who.
people won't know who they are.
It's okay. It's okay.
But we have Miss Marvel. So Miss Marvel came out. That's a sort of character. And then we have kind of a whole cast, which, well, I suppose with Muslim families, direction, exec producing, all Muslims as well. So that was probably the first shot. Here we also had We Are Lady Parts, again written by a non-Muslim for Channel 4. It was a hit and also a miss within our community as well. But again, it's our community. They're difficult to please, right? Because you have people who have different tastes. However, would there be a real Muslim superhero? I don't know, and I feel that do we really want to have a Muslim James Bond? Probably not, because if we know what James Bond stands for as a character,
Probably was the best example, yeah.
yeah, probably not the greatest of examples. Even though I've
The Muslim
enjoyed.
that saves the world, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've enjoyed the Bond franchise, but there are elements in there which feeling that it just doesn't work, and I think it's kind of a bit dated now. But I feel that we have enough talent in terms of writing talent. We have great acting talent as well. I think there's a film out with Amira Masri, which is about Prince Basim. That's come out with Pierce Brosnan, who I think was the greatest Bond. And that film's come out. That's a lead actor, but that's a great story. But Sylvester Stallone is a producer. He loves everything to do with boxing. And so I thought that was great. But are there going to be many more of these kind of stories? I mean, we only have, Muhammad Ali. We have a ton of films about him. And, I think we're all sad that he's no longer here. But yeah, we're always craving somebody to be our hero, almost. That's how it feels. Look how we respond to people who are not Muslim, who are wearing the keffiyeh or talking about Palestine. We were like, they're amazing people. Look at, how we praise the likes of Mehdi Hassan. He's brilliant. He's so good at articulating the case for Palestine, but also for Muslims as well. We just don't have enough of those characters. There are some, but not enough. And it's sad that we feel that maybe as individuals we're not enough. But we as individuals, we're quite powerful. There's no real difference between you or Mehdi, apart from the fact that he's had more airtime and he's out there more just pushing the narrative and going out there and having those conversations. So anyone who's watching this can be one of the heroes of the community. We're all heroes in our different ways. We've got different tests and challenges that we're all going through every single day. We're heroes to our own families. We're heroes to our parents, to our kids, our wives, and the wider community. So don't take that away from yourselves. It's not about these individual personalities, but you are a hero. But the issue comes down to don't rely upon people to come and save us, because that will come from us being proactive, getting off our backsides and saying, I'm going to be part of making the difference, and making dua, because success will only come from Allah. It won't come from anyone else. But we have to be careful about hero worship and personality leadership, because there are people like the Andrew Tates in the world who just disappointed everyone. I mean, I've always had my questions about what's going on there, but I was just very sad just seeing how people gave so much leadership to this individual, and they were just in awe of him. I think these are not necessarily the people that we want to do that. Give them time to embrace Islam and change that character and personality, but just be careful. But be your own hero, and bring other people up with you. It's really important. That's what we need to do more of as a community.
Fantastic. And on that bombshell.
Astaghfirullah.
Brilliant. I think that's a really good way to end the show. It's been fantastic having you here. Thank you for joining us. I wanted to move away from all the politics and all the business stuff that we've been talking about. This is a subject that obviously is of interest to me as it is to you. I really think that there's lots of work to be done here, even though the industry, as you said, is maybe on its backside at the moment, or 60% of it is. Still think that it's probably the best time to be investing in it, rather than
there's a lot of change that we can be a part of.
Absolutely, because the industry, I don't think entertainment in itself will ever die. Like, we're always looking as human beings
We
to
want
be
to be entertained.
So the industry will change, and if we're in there, then maybe we can shape the way that the industry is in a few years' time, or in 10 years' time.
I agree.
Sajid, brilliant. Thank you very much again for joining us,
Appreciate it.
and thank you for making the time and sharing all your thoughts.
For
We were
being
hoping
such a
to.
wonderful host.
I know. Mehdi Hassan and me, we're exactly the same as you mentioned. Thanks a lot, bro. Thanks. Brilliant. Thank you very much.